Welcome back to another episode of Out of Home Insider. Today's guest is a dear friend, Mary Perrella from Vengo Labs. We're going to learn all about the exciting news out of Vengo Labs with Cheddar U. We're going to talk about how Vengo pivoted over the last 12 to 24 months into a platform for media owners that are looking to plug into programmatic pipes. We talk about the contextual importance of place-based advertising, how that fits into the modern marketing mix, how buyers and sellers alike think about it. We challenge some ideas. We touched on some hot button topics like programmatic and impressions and measurement, and some of the things that we know are probably on your mind too. So hopefully you find this episode interesting, exciting, all of the above. If you're looking for more great companies like Vengo Labs, check out onescreen.ai, where we're building the first free public access directory for all things out of home. So if you're looking for Vengo or more companies like Vengo, or maybe you're looking for something completely different, take a look at onescreen.ai, get more information. And without further ado, let's go.
Welcome everybody to the Out of Home Insider Show, a podcast like no other, hosted by the one and only Tim Rowe. Get ready to have some knowledge dropped on you and to be entertained, because nothing's more valuable than food for your brain. So sit back, relax, we're about to dive in as the best industry podcast is about to begin.
Mary Perrella, thank you so much for being here. There's exciting Vengo news in the news. We're going to get a chance to talk about that, but this is really exciting to finally get to connect and start building out some of the content and some of the conversation around place-based. So thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Sure, absolutely. Happy to be here, Tim.
That's great. So we've talked a lot about why place-based, and I think that that's a really good place to start as advertisers start to consider more offline channels as they look to reinvest or redeploy place-based marketing dollars that were typically spent on these little devices we keep in our pockets, thinking about place-based as a contextual advertising opportunity. Maybe that's a good place to start. What do you think?
Yeah, and that's every media has its place and its purpose, right? But place-based media is really great because it is contextual to the environment. But the thing about being in those environments is people are comfortable. They're in a familiar place. They're relaxed, and they may not be just staring at their screen, at their phone.
Right.
So the screen is another way of capturing their attention when their guard is down. In a way, you could look at it. But certainly it's contextual to the experience that they're having. And that's where you make that emotional connection.
It's so interesting. I hadn't thought about it until you just said that. But marketers, we make this assumption that people are just always looking at their phones, that we're just always connected to a device. But you know, as you were talking about that, and I was thinking about a podcast episode that just came out today or last week, whenever folks are listening to this, with my friend Matt Raymond, about automotive dealerships and how they use out of home. But specifically, I thought about myself as a consumer, like when I go to a car dealership and I'm sitting in the waiting lounge. Yeah, like I'm in a place, there's contextual relevance there, getting my car serviced and doing these things, right? Like there's that moment has been created, but I'm not just sitting there looking at my phone. I'm looking around, I'm getting a cup of coffee. Maybe I'm watching something on the TV. I'm picking up a brochure. I'm walking around, and all of these are opportunities for brands to engage, an audience in that moment. Do you think that we kind of overcorrected with this mobile stuff? What are you starting to see in conversations with advertisers? Are they thinking about place-based the same way as what we're talking about?
Well, I think place-based, the conversation almost starts from the out-of-home world and then evolves to, out-of-home isn't just billboards. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Any moment that a person or consumer is outside of their home falls into this realm, right? And we know, billboards are a mainstay. They've been around a long time. They got a great history, great track record. But now we're seeing more and more screens, digital video everywhere in these different venues. And so I think that's the kind of the approach. And the way I like to think about it is it's a perfect 1-2 punch. Somebody sees your ad either at home on the television, streaming, wherever, or on the highway, on a billboard, And then they go into the gym to do their workout, and there's that ad again. Or they walk into their, they get to the college campus and they see the message again, or a hotel or an office or anywhere our venues are. And, there's so many other great place-based opportunities, but it's a great 1-2 punch. I see the ad, I see the ad again. That's what frequency is all about. And that's how, the end of the day, this isn't about how many people saw my ad. It's how many people responded to my ad. Did I connect with them? Did I make an emotional connection?
Did you make an impression?
Right, exactly. Thank you.
It's so funny, right? We use that word, so fluidly in conversation as we talk about pricing, but that's really what it is the brand making an impression on the audience you care about impressing, right? Because you're trying to impress them for a reason, to compel them to choose you for a product or a service or whatever those things are. It's a literal impression, and being able to take advantage of that contextual experience, it adds value to that. So as marketers, especially online, the last 20 years, we've become obsessed with retargeting, right? I want to get someone to my website, and then I want to follow them around the internet and serve them ads as many times as I can until they do something. Which just made me think of like a meme. I don't know if you've ever seen the meme, poke it, the stick just poke, do something. I'll retarget you until you do something. But a billboard and then
down the funnel, literally.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, we're jamming them down the funnel. That's what we're doing with the stick. But really, when the way that you described it with large format, roadside, or some of the more traditional formats that we think about with out of home, and then the ability to retarget those same customers when they get to the gym or they get to the grocery store. It's real world retargeting. It's hyper local retargeting. Right. It's such a valuable tactic. And for out of home buyers or specialists that, have maybe not explored place-based, what are the things that we just don't know about place-based that folks should know about place-based when we're thinking about considering it as part of a plan?
Yeah, I mean, you first want to think about the context, and the message should fit the context. And that, again, is going to improve the reception, the response, the emotional connection that a consumer is going to make.
So the ability to generate creative specific take advantage of the format for what it is.
Exactly. Be aware of where the creative is being seen, right? If it's gym, then show people in a gym. I mean, it's really simple. Appealing to college students, it's, you want to get their attention. So creative is always been a function of advertising, right? It's a critical piece of it. But now you've got this opportunity to be really contextual, not just general, in front of a mass audience. We're talking about a much more focused audience, in all in the same mindset when they see it. So there's absolutely that. And then the advances that have been made in all of the ability to track and measure and attribution, using mobile data to know where that person has been before, where they're heading afterwards. Plugging in first party data to measure, did it move the needle? Did they walk into that grocery store after they saw my ad? Did they walk into the department store or the big box store, whatever it is, using that firsthand sales data to show actual results. And that's what I think has made, that's what's advanced, the ability to buy this, programmatically, right? And automatically, and automating that process is because now we've got all this digital information flowing into one place to be able to make that study that attribution and report it in a way that's never been available before, or, it's been developing over the last few years, but I think it's really coming into its own. And that's what's attracting more digital buyers, right? Is that this could plug into the way I buy, web-based advertising. Now I could do this with digital, and digital place-based. And
Vengo pivoted as a company over the last 12, 18, 24 months, as a lot of us had to. And you're helping companies to be able to plug their networks in to all of these great programmatic pipelines. Most folks know Vengo as the screens on top of the claw machines. And I still love a good claw machine myself. But like, how has Vengo changed as a company over the last couple of years, and what is the focus now? We're going to talk about the news with Cheddar, talking about a contextually relevant audience, being able to dynamically generate creative based on a college campus. Like, how exciting. So many opportunities for brands in that. But let's start with how Vengo has changed and evolved over the last 24 months and how you're helping media owners today.
So let me take a step back a little bit further. So let's go back to the DNA of Vengo Labs.
Let's go all the way back. Yeah.
It's a startup with an exciting premise of putting, vending and digital advertising together in venues. And, our two founders got their first round of funding on Shark Tank. And so our innovation and creation is really in the DNA of the whole company. So not only did they build those vending kiosks with the screens on them, but they also built the whole back end software, because it had to marry up the physical world and the digital world together. And so we built it from scratch. And with that, we've, progressed forward to integrating with delivering our inventory everywhere that buyers are. That's really been our mission. We're platform agnostic, so our software can play in the sandbox with anybody. And so we've been able to connect and integrate all of our inventory with all the programmatic platforms, DSPs, anybody who's, transacting automatically, we're able to plug that in. So we're really platform agnostic, trying to get our inventory available, make it easy for buyers to buy, right? Trust, ease, speed, those are the things that buyers care about now. And that's really that's our goal. So since we built that software solution for ourselves and we realized how well it was working, and being able to bring everything together in one software platform for ourselves, we're now helping other media network owners, screen owners do the same for themselves using our software.
Because you ran into some challenges, some supply chain issues with being able to build out your own machines. And was that a bit of a forcing function? I know supply chain's been tough for everybody.
Yeah, the pandemic has been, a lot of challenges on our business, right? Just like every other place-based, all the venues shut down.
Sure. So, yeah. Who the hell are you serving ads to?
Yeah, so that was number one. And we took a step back and looked at all the technology we had available to us. And our machines are equipped with motion detectors that were able to tell us this gym is open. This college building is open. We're seeing.
Oh, so early on in COVID, the machines really acted as like live market intelligence for you to know what the heck is going on.
Right. And it saved us from making thousands of phone calls every day going, are you open? Are you not open? What's going on?
Yeah. The little things that we just take for granted.
By market, everything was different, right?
Wow.
So the motion data was really our way of knowing and assuring advertisers, we know this building is open and we know there's traffic there. And then what we did was track it month over month to be able to say traffic's coming back. It may only be 25% of the traffic in June of 2020, but a year later, we're back, gyms are back at 95% nationwide. College campuses are over 85% nationwide. So we're able to see that simple data point was enough for us to be able to prove we know the gym is open. We know that location is open, and we know we have a really good idea of the people in the viewing radius of our screens, because that's the way the motion data worked. So that was one thing that we, used to help pivot and drive our business forward. And then looking at the software and realizing that we had built something that was really substantial and really kind of groundbreaking, that all of these things came together agnostically. So this is a way for us to provide a really valuable service for network owners that either were just starting to develop or realized that they needed a programmatic strategy and a plan. Yeah. Or if if they're on their way, we can help manage and optimize it, because we have all of this software. It's a one-stop shop, a turnkey solution to bring their inventory live to all the platforms.
I love it. You're creating exponential value beyond just what, Vengo, having your own network the value you could create like that, but being able to give this and empower this, this kind of chain reaction for media owners that have networks that are the backbone. They're going out, they're developing real estate, they're hanging screens, they're checking in with, the small business owner right. We need them to be able to go do those things. And you're enabling and empowering them to be able to go do that by taking care of all of the really hard technical stuff, because that's probably not something that they ever imagined that they would have to also master when they started hanging up screens in places. So,
it's a whole nother layer of complexity to it. And the fact that we figured it out and made it work and optimized it for ourselves made us realize this is, something that people really need. And it's, it's a valuable service.
It's really valuable.
Super excited.
And as things get easier to buy and easier to measure, we're going to want more of these types of opportunities. So being able to bring on new premium inventory is really important. Who are the types of media owners that are a good fit for this service? Are they, of a certain size? Do they have a certain number of screens? Are they on any of the programmatic platforms already? Like, if someone's listening right now and they've got a network and they're saying, hey, this might be something that could help my business, how should they qualify themselves as to whether or not Vengo could be a good fit for them?
This is not an off-the-shelf SaaS solution. That's all I need to say.
It's important. State it up front.
To do whatever we need to do to provide the screen owners, the media owners, the solution that they're looking for. And we can build. We're building it custom, depending on what people need. But all the components are there. I'm not saying we got to rebuild. We don't rebuild the wheel every time, but we've got all the components. So if we just need, A, B, and C and not D and whatever, it is our, it's within our wheelhouse to be able to make it work for whatever environment it is. So, but we're looking, it's digital screens that are the fit, obviously.
Okay. So digital screens, not roadside digital billboards, not digital spectaculars, digital screens in places, specifically screens in places. Is that?
I meant digital versus static. This is
got it. Okay. So important distinction right there, right? Is digital versus static. Once we get into that digital subset, are you working with billboard owners? Is it just place-based owners that you're working with right now?
That's our starting point, because that's place-based. We know best, but it doesn't mean that at some point this couldn't be a valuable solution for digital billboard owners. But at this point, our experience and our knowledge base is coming from place-based, and that's where we've been focusing the conversations at this point. But
keep it in the wheelhouse.
I'm not going to say no.
All right. Hey, listen, take Mary up on it and find out if it can be done or not. Is this a good fit if I'm a media owner and I have 10 to 20 screens in the wild? Is this a good fit for me, or do I need a little bit more scale?
It depends on what the game plan is. What is the long-term game plan? If this is something that you're building a network, you've got a plan to roll out screens, and that this needs to be a part of it, and you want us in under the tent early with you to help build that, great.
Huge. That's a huge advantage to have, to be able to know early on at that early stage, hey, I've got a growth opportunity here, and Vengo's going to show me the path to being. I already have relationships. I have an idea for the network I want to build. I'll do that stuff. And Vengo has already been through the woods, has already gotten to the other side, and is going to help me on that journey as well. I mean, that's an incredible resource to have.
Yeah. So there's no line in the sand. There's no perfect fit. But place-based screen owners that realize that the programmatic piece has to be a discussion. It has to be part of their plan going forward, because so many buyers are finding more and more comfort and ease in buying on the programmatic platforms. It gives them a lot of control to control their budgets, to control for changes in the environments, right? Creative changes on the fly. I mean, all of that great stuff has really, more and more of the holding companies and agencies are like, either we have a full-blown programmatic solution, or we dabble based on where we think it's appropriate or where it's coming from the client. but it's here to stay.
Yeah.
It's going to be unavoidable going forward.
Mary, a place I get stuck on programmatic, maybe we can have a fun conversation here. A place I get stuck on programmatic is buying on an impression level. Now, you described the sensors and the things that the Vengo units were equipped with, right? Like you have the ability to accurately measure how many people are here. For a large part of this industry, the impressions are kind of just estimated, right? And I'm buying a subset of an estimated impression. That just as a marketer scares the hell out of me, frankly. Like it scares the hell out of me. What are the things that
you got to take a step back first?
Okay.
And that is that the motion data for us is really useful information, right? In a time when we really needed to know what was happening, right? But the truth of the matter is we're measured by Geopath. We've been a part of their place-based pilot study from the beginning, and we've been working through that process with them to figure out what are the impression multipliers on an hourly, daily, monthly basis.
Okay.
So that's the data that we're using transactionally, not the motion data. The motion data is just, really good live first party data that we could tap into to know what's happening. But we've been working with Geopath now for the last couple of years to get our measurements in place. So we're using third party transactional data that's coming from Geopath.
No, yeah, and that you've got redundancies built into that, which is obviously awesome for the rest of the industry that does it. For everybody else who's just estimating impressions, doesn't have hardware, doesn't have any of these things, isn't Geopath audited. As a buyer, I would rather know that I was getting a certain amount of play and a certain rotation, versus buying an impression level that was estimated based on, I don't know, like you've got Geopath auditing, we've got technology, things like that, but unfortunately that's not the entire industry. Programmatic buying versus direct buying. Do you think that programmatic ultimately does away with the direct buy, or is there a place for both?
I definitely think there's a place for both. The direct guarantees exactly what locations you're going to be in. Like you said, what the rotation is, the share of voice, how often is my ad going to be seen? All of that stuff is locked and loaded and guaranteed. Okay. Right. And that there's still a value in there for sure. But the programmatic stuff, just allows for a lot more flexibility and fluidity in the planning and, budget management and optimization and all that good stuff. And trial and error as well, right?
Sure. Yeah, we love testing with programmatic.
Working too much over here, I'm going to move it over there. Or it's working great over here, I got to move more of the budget over there. It gives you all those tools that an IO isn't designed to really do.
That's a great point. It's a really great point. It does, right? It's an alternative to that traditional, hey, I'm locked in. Now, right, there's value to that.
It's not one or the other. Yeah. Because people are running both.
Talk about that.
We've seen some campaigns where the programmatic is really targeted to specific geos. And then there's more of a direct buy that overlays it, connecting it nationally.
Interesting.
It is interesting. And maybe part of it is learning and trial and error too, to see how it performs versus that. And, but it's a brave new world, man. That's all I can say.
Damn, there it is. That's the hot take. That's the one you got to cut out and put on like the cool social post with the headshot. Repurpose House. As you're listening to this, please grab that one. It's a brave new world. Mary Perrella on this 24th day of February 2022. Speaking of the 24th day of February 2022, you've got big news. Vengo Labs, Cheddar, the largest college campus network, I think, that just broke this morning. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so we have this great new partnership with Cheddar U, part of Cheddar, live news for forward thinkers. They produce amazing content. that streams, and they've got, their business is really broad and interesting. This is their college network, which, years ago was the MTVU network.
Oh, wow.
Which they have built and expanded on and improved. So yeah, we're super excited. We're going to be, helping to deliver their inventory to more and more programmatic platforms, and working very closely with their team to, just drive more revenue. That's what it's all about, right? But make it more accessible.
Solves all the problems.
Yeah, and we have over 300 college screens already, so it's a perfect match. And I really see us working kind of arm in arm moving forward to provide access to college campuses in a big way.
It's very exciting. So will their content now be available on your screens, the 300 campuses that you had already? Will the Cheddar content be on those screens too?
Gonna have to stay tuned for that one too.
Oh, dang. That, you know what that means? That means like, share, subscribe, follow, because we're going to have to do an update when you're doing this stuff for billboards and doing all these things. Mary, you've done a great job of the most important part, which is to keep them coming back. So I will definitely be tuned into that. That's exciting, because a request that we get from a lot of advertisers when we work with brands at OneScreen are for college campuses. They're trying to reach college students. There's a lot of brands trying to reach them, and it's a tough to reach audience. 52% of that generation uses ad blockers on their phones. Congrats. They don't want to hear from you. This was kind of fun. I guest lectured at my alma mater in Hackettstown in Centenary, and I walked, it was a digital marketing class, and figure this is a room of 25 students who are all paying $24,000 to $30,000 a semester to attend this school, getting a degree in digital marketing. And I asked them the question, I said, how many people here use ad blockers? And half the hands in the room went up, and that was pretty consistent with the research. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then I said, does anyone here remember seeing a billboard recently? And there was one young lady at the front of the classroom, and she put her hand up in the air and she said, there's a billboard that I pass every day on my way to campus for the vape shop in town. It's right at this traffic light. And I said, why do you remember that? And she goes, well, I vape and I really like the colors that they used on the billboard. So I was like, interesting. Came to find out that she was a TikTok influencer with like 200,000 followers. So like, break this whole scenario down. She uses ad blockers. She doesn't care about you advertising to her on the internet. Despite that, she's paying, or someone's paying, to take a marketing class, a digital marketing degree program, right? Don't want your ads, willing to pay for the education. I remember seeing a billboard, and oh, by the way, I'm an influencer. So the only piece of advertising I remember was the billboard. Never saw your digital ad. I study this professionally, and I can influence a huge piece of the market. How powerful is out of home now?
Well, influencing is advertising.
Influence
right?
the influencers.
That's what it is, right? It's like sponsored content from back in the day.
Yeah.
And you have a magazine
native advertorials.
Right? Yeah. That's what it is, right?
Totally. At OneScreen, we recently did a campaign with a company called Carrot. They're a credit card for influencers. One of the challenges that influencers have is they are small businesses themselves, but banks don't look at them as small businesses. They look at them as 19-year-olds with TikToks, right? So they don't have access to financing in the way that a small business might or a startup might. So Carrot, awesome. They're a credit card for creators, and how they chose to use the format was actually as a way to thank their creators and their customers. And they featured them in Times Square and the Chinese Theater in West Hollywood. And these influencers went out, and I lost track. I think there was like 50 influencers, and like something like 20 to 30 of them showed up and created content in front of the billboard. And it went absolutely haptic. These are young digital creators that are native to all the digital platforms. And the most haptic piece of content that they've created in the last 30 days was them in front of a billboard. And that's the power of out of home.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. Mary, if folks want to get in touch with Vengo, learn more about Vengo, see if Vengo is maybe a fit for them, what's the Latin long? How do they get in touch with you?
Mary at vengolabs.com, colleges at vengolabs.com. And our website is vengolabs.com.
Well, that's pretty easy. Easy enough. Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Tim. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. If you found this to be helpful, please share it with somebody else who could benefit. As always, make sure to smash that subscribe button down there in the corner, and we'll see y'all next time.
Quarter century, I finally came to my senses. I finally got my hand up on the tinted Benz, kid. I see the world clear through my tinted lenses. With the dream and the drive, the possibilities endless. Now print that, send this all the way to Tokyo. Take a trip down south, down to Mexico. Next stop, Shanghai, the world-class trade show. First class all the way, cause that's how we roll. Yeah, call us the rock star businessman. Rockin' shows, we handle business, man. We got our own future in the palm of our hands, cause divine